one thing, it was a hand-picked group of residents who were called into this meeting. Somebody decided whether they were competent to understand what it was. The rest of them, including my wife, who probably wasn't competent, her disclosure deal was thrown on her little table in her room. It wasn't sent to me that day. It was thrown on her table in her room. Waukene, we'll go to Waukene. Waukene is owned by Gove County. It's a high access hospital.
Critical access.
It has 3 licenses. It has one for the hospital, one for the home, and one for, now where we missed that deal, I don't know. Your big deal to Waukene, we have to change doctors. The doctors come to them, and they're not going to we're not going to load her up and haul her to clinic. So get your information a little more correct. What I think, Dave, it's already been said, should have been, when you started talking about this, at least the commissioners should have known. And you insulted all the employees in this room by saying if they found out that you were talking to us about this, they'd all skip town. You don't know these people. They would have stayed here and waited to the very end if they could. This is my 3rd presentation, but I thought I'd try it. It's as boring this time as it was before, but nobody went to sleep. And the one Saturday, some of the residents went to sleep. I guess one more thing I'm going to ask you. You have a quorum, you have your board here, you've got another meeting by 6 o'clock, and I don't know what time it is now. I am asking the board for somebody to make a motion to terminate Connor's contract immediately and let us know that by 6 o'clock, whether you did or whether you didn't.
Thank you, Dean. Joey Kearns.
As everybody knows, I am the Dairy Queen. I don't need a microphone.
Never have.
Never have, never will. I just want everybody to know that the closing of the long-term care doesn't just affect the hospital and the long-term care. It affects the doctor's office. It affects the pharmacy. It affects me. It affects the gas station. It affects Leela. It affects everybody in this community, in Clark, Greenfield, Grinnell. So I feel like we should have been notified. I mean, it's just gonna, I do a lot of business from people coming to the long-term care. You know, I have a gift card that I'm supposed to take ice cream up once a week for a resident up there. You know, it's gonna affect me big time too, which is really gonna make it even that much harder for me to sell, especially when the biggest employer is losing employees to try to get my business sold. So, anyway, sorry to all the people in the community that haven't been mentioned.
So I just want to remind everyone, look at the numbers. The hospital itself would have been closed in a year and a half if this decision had not been made. The hospital and the nursing home, that goes from 34 to 174 individuals that you are then losing in this community. If we had not, and I don't expect people to like me, I don't expect people to like the decision. I do know that this decision was necessary for the sustainability of healthcare in Gove County. And if this decision had not been made, it's easy to look at what is going on now. It is a lot harder to look down the road and see what impact this would have on Gove County. We do know that that impact would be significant, because if you take what you just said and you take another 150 people out of the county, it's going to be even worse. We would not be here in a year and a half. And if I would not have taken this to the board and made the conversation about what are we going to do with this long-term care, Are we going to try to sell it? What are we going to do with the hospital? And we continue down that road, and we ran this hospital bone dry, and you'd be a lot more mad at me for that than you are today for this. Everything would be gone.
Thank you, Joni. Tara Thornburg. Oh, sorry. Ralph Clark.
No question, Dave.
Jim Meyer.
No question.
Roger Ringer.
No question.
Ross Boone.
I got a couple.
Sure.
So, one, I agree with some of the guys that said, I think you're a little late on the meeting. But, I know you had a lot of decisions to make on that. And I agree with, I understand why you did that. But, I think it would have been good to inform the public a little quicker. It was quite a shock to all of us, and we just, don't realize anything was going on, and here we're closing the doors. And that was one thing. I agree with Don Tilton, and I agree with what he had to say. I appreciate that, Don. I don't always agree with you. Nobody ever does. But how long do you think we'll be able to keep, in your opinion, how long do you think we'll be able to keep our hospital?
I really anticipate with what we've got forward, it's gonna take a few years, but I think we can get it on a solid footing, or I wouldn't be here yet.
Yeah.
That's my anticipation. I think they've got a good plan coming forth. It's not fully completed yet either,
Yeah.
but hopefully.
I think that's about all that I have, When that time comes, we'll notify us a little quicker.
Hopefully it never comes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross. Kim Dome,
She had to leave.
okay. Wade Harvey.
I guess mine was more on the shortages of nurses and stuff like that. Are we still forced vaccinating and forced masking our nurses? Is that something that we're gonna, because I know that was a huge loss of nurses in the first place, and
Maybe across the country, we were fortunate to not lose any of our employees as a result of the vaccine mandate, which is a federal mandate. We are required, because if we do not have that requirement in place, the federal government can come in and actually stop reimbursing us anything. So we would not have Medicare, Medicaid revenues. They will terminate our Medicaid and Medicare contracts. And then you heard what Chad said, and it's true for us as well. The majority of our payers are Medicare, Medicaid, right? You want to find a way to expedite the closure of a hospital, it's not complying with those rules, and the government shutting us down as a result. Forced masking, we have, again, with the state requirements and the federal requirements, it depends on how COVID is spreading through the county. We get numbers on that every week, and in certain scenarios, we are required to mask as an organization, or we are out of compliance with that. That is all part of that same rule. We were able to work with, thankfully at the state level, they made some concessions for how that got rolled out, and what organizations could question, could not, about religious and medical exemptions. Yes, people didn't all get vaccinated, but we were able to have what is considered accommodations. And the least invasive thing that we could do to make sure that we, based on all the allowances to us, for those that were not vaccinated, to help them keep their jobs, they do have to mask. But we have to do something. We can't not do anything, or we are at risk of losing and having our Medicare and Medicaid contracts terminated.
I assumed it was a big part of our staff. I talked to a few nurses that wouldn't do it, so.
Yes, but we were able to keep them with the accommodations. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Ron Everly. Hey Terry, Ron's older than me too. Don't start the clock yet.
hey, we've been sitting here all day, and I've been sitting in the back of the room listening, you know. Everything we said was shut down, shut down, shut down. Okay, many years ago, 4 people got together and decided to restore an opera house that everybody says burned down. Those same 4 people are still alive today, and we've got her done. And it looks pretty damn good. Okay, instead of going ahead and shutting down this long-term care that's got over 30 beds in it, your hospital has 11 beds. They're paying the administration off of square footage of the floor. So the administration cost is more against the nursing home or long-term care than it would be the other way. So what I'm gonna recommend today is Gove County is one of the wealthiest counties in the state. Let's cut that hospital in half. Take the long-term care and separate it. Take the assisted living and go with the long-term care. Keep the hospital by itself. You're gonna make your $1 million extra that you're losing out on for taking care of all the nurses that you've got left for these 11 rooms. Now, what's gonna happen to that when you get all that administrative back into that smaller area? Will you survive?
So, as far as separating, I mean, yes, that was the whole goal of, do you split it in half, get it licensed? Remember, the licensure is the issue in all of that. They would not be able to get it licensed as an independent facility. That's why I tried so hard to do that. So one, that's not feasible, but that is essentially exactly what we looked at. Again, though, we are 21 beds, licensed 21 beds on the hospital side. The administrative costs are overhead. We have a handful of, I guess, shared offices, because I don't know if I understood your question correctly, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but though we have some spaces over there, when we talk about like the overhead expenses, that $1 million that we are talking about, that is exactly that. So that's all coming back over. Those are the administrative expenses. That is the impact that we are going to have. If this nursing home were to be separated out completely and given to another organization,
Right.
we have offices down there that we don't have space for over there, and we have a whole therapy department and respiratory therapy and Senior Life Solutions, 3 departments that also generate revenue in our hospital services in that space. There's no space for them on the hospital side, and therapy generates a lot of revenue for the hospital. In fact, we actually couldn't even have swing bed services if we didn't have therapy. So you get rid of therapy, now you've gotten rid of your hospital.
But on the other hand, you've got 30-some beds down there making what, 8,000 a month? Pretty close.
No. Well, but you also have all the costs in there too.
Right.
And
But
it's
that's the gross impact.
maybe it would maybe be a break-even facility on the nursing home side.
Well, I guess like you said, you get into the assisted living and make a good living. So why can't you go ahead and have the assisted living and the nursing home managed under one group, somebody that would buy them? And then we would have a nursing home still in Quinter with people to stay, because I'm gonna get there maybe someday.
That's exactly 100% what we try to do. Unfortunately, we're going to be able to get the independent living, hopefully, to an entity that will be able to lease that space and run it. The license is the big problem in the nursing home. We tried exactly that. We tried selling them together for $1. You can't get it licensed, then you can't have a nursing facility, which means there's nothing to buy. That's the issue.
I spent a lot of time in the Joaquin Hospital, and the only difference between the hospital and the nursing home is folding doors, locked folding doors.
3 licenses.
And they can do it, well, why can't we get 3 licenses?
We tried.
We tried. That's what I tried to do.
We're on in 5 minutes, so.
How many times you try to get a license? How many times you try driving? Not twice, how many times you try to get a license?
Can't, they only
How many
can't.
times did you try?
I tried every month for 6 months, and I tried consistently.
Try every day.
Okay.
I did try every day
You
for
have
6
another
months.
question?
That's okay, I'm just, instead of.
I know, I understand.
Closing down, I think we ought to be looking towards investment and saving. That's my-
I agree. Thank you, Ron. Crystal Worth.
I don't have any.
Okay. Nicole Wolf.
Okay, 5 minutes, I have a lot of questions. I took care of a lot of your guys' family. I worked there from 2015 to 2019 when I had my son. Whew, this is nerve-wracking. Lessons from my grandparents. So, I just caught the end of, we need to be careful with spending. We knew back in 2016, we did get in trouble, but years got better. So why, with the spending, we bought these houses, yes, you got a grant or something from the porters. Why wasn't that money saved in a savings account to prevent this?
Well,
Also, I would also like to bring up the duplex rent. We rent a duplex, those are $900 a month. In case you didn't know that.
We make money off the duplex because we are able to cut contract costs off of our contract labor. You put one contract person in there and you have now made your entire rent. We are able to put a lot more in there than just that. We use it for recruitment, which is an issue. The first part on the expenditure, again, I want to remind everybody, those
There
are
was two
one-time
houses
expenditures.
bought. 2 houses bought.
And I don't know what the first one was. I
That was
don't-
for more for the board.
Okay, what I will tell you is that those are one-time expenditures regardless. That $15,000 that was used with that Porter Trust Fund that they have received, that's not saving the nursing home. The nursing home is 1 million to 1.5 million every single year. One-time expenditures weren't going to save it, they were going to delay the inevitable.
I just feel like you're spending more money, like the gazebo, I understand it got held out.
COVID funds, and we had to be required to do that. That was something that I walked into that I did try to stop. It does look very nice. It was already too far in at that point. And those were KDAS funds given to the long-term care that they were trying to use to help improve visitation at the time. They could not have visitors in the nursing home at that time, so they tried to improve outdoor space. That was all KDAS funding.
Okay. I've heard that, closing, we don't have enough residents. I would like to say we're full of a wise community, not elder, we're all wise. Like Roseanne said, she'll be in there. Another one said that they would plan on being in there. Just give us time. You say our community, we're not transparent with our community. 6 months ago, you could have said something. You could have. Our community goes over and beyond. I know it firsthand.
6 months ago, we were barely becoming aware of what
Should have
that
still said
financial.
something. Should have said.
There are a lot
3
of
months
losses
ago,
that the hospital
should have
has
said
that don't get communicated. It's easy to look back and say, we wish we would have known this, but back then, we were still trying to sell the long-term care facility.
Still could have said, hey, we're gonna try this way, because you didn't know, double-edged sword. You're not transparent, it's all fishy, it's very fishy. Sorry. But also, community. You are not a part of our community, you don't understand. You live in Trigo, you're not paying our taxes. You don't own a house here, you're not helping us. So, board, please continue to answer my questions. You say, a lot of people have asked, what about the long-term care? What happened to the building? More offices.
That's not what I said.
I'm not done. I have 5 minutes here. 5 minutes to get all this out. We took away rooms to give people offices. That was expensive. Then we were getting patients, we were getting residents in there. So what do we have to do? We have to take away some of those offices to house our residents. And now we're getting more offices to put into where our residents work.
Go ahead.
So, and you said you don't know what you're gonna do with the LTC, but it kind of sounds like you already know. You wanna expand your OR. You wanna put offices in there. So it kind of sounds, because you had it up there, we can bring it up, you would want to expand your OR. So,
I was bringing in a specialty provider to come into our current space in our OR. So expansion of the OR providers, yes. Expansion of the space is not something that I have drawn up. I believe it had been previous conversations before I had arrived. There is no talk about expansion of that OR currently.
Also to help with agency, how come none of the hospital CNAs or RNs could come over and help with the long-term care? I worked there, I worked at the long-term care when it was slow. I got the option to go over and help our LTC. I loved it, that's kind of what made me go to long-term care full-time. But why not? How come every time I walk into the hospital, I see aides and RNs on their phones?
Give your 5 minutes, is that, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. So we have to give the option to do that. I've explored this actually in my previous position as well when I was in South Dakota at a critical access hospital and a nursing home. We had requested the hospital to do the same thing. Then and now in Gove County Medical Center, trying to force people to go over to an environment to provide care that they do not want to wouldn't work. Giving the option, sure. There's also a lot of orientation and training that goes into Matrix. They're on different EMR systems. Given the option, sure, that would have been appropriate. Did we do that? I don't know that we did.
People will be on the phones. One more. Are you taking a pay cut because you are not managing 2 facilities? No, you are not
No.
taking a pay cut.
So-
Is what I understood. Why?
It's based on the Kansas Hospital Association wages. That critical access hospital
And
wage
you know
scale.
what?
Mhm.
Thank you. And the question you raised about him not living in Gove County, he looked for a house in Gove County, couldn't find it. Okay. Nathan Drake.
I just wanted to know if, I know critical access hospital funding a swing bed is a part of it. Was intermediate swing bed something that was discussed and possibly closing the facility as a long-term care so the licensure isn't an issue and utilizing intermediate swing bed?
Yes, so we did talk to our audit firm about that as well. A lot of hospitals have taken a portion of their long-term care beds and they have licensed them as intermediate swing beds, essentially hospital beds, so that all the costs allocated could be reimbursed out of those. We spoke to our audit firm about that. The problem with that is we have 21 critical access licensed beds. We typically run about 5 on average in terms of our daily census in the hospital, but we have surged up into the mid-teens, and if we took any of those beds, if we took 10 of them, if we took 5 of them, those beds would be moved from the hospital into the nursing home, and we would have fewer beds on the hospital side. So anytime that we needed then hospital patients or we needed beds to provide hospital care to those patients, they would have not been able to receive that care at Gove County. And on top of that, the financial impact of that, couple $100,000, it wasn't anything close to that penalty.
My next question was, you mentioned that there were, and you don't know what you're gonna do with the beds, the current facility. But you mentioned something about as a hospital-owned clinic that you get additional funds and reimbursement from CMS to do that. Are there other outpatient services that could be brought in that then you can get additional reimbursement?
Well, if you're talking about revenue and services in general, we do have the opportunity and are attempting to grow our outpatient nursing services. We are attempting to market and get our therapy staff trained in wound care services and trying to expand that. As far as the clinic is concerned, and are there any services that we could license differently? Not that I am aware of off the top of my head, but bringing in outpatient services, yes. And in fact, a lot of that is very challenging to do without having a clinic under us, because obviously the clinic is the outpatient world, so.
And then the last one's just a statement, because I have a microphone. I don't think anybody's gonna rush and take it away, but while I have the chance, I have worked at many different facilities, 5 different nursing facilities, and then I worked with 2 different to place my father in, and in all of the nursing facilities that I worked at. Harry and Ivy, Denise, and Monica, and Carol, you are the best.
Thank you, Megan. Marcia Press?
If I can get out. If I need to die. I guess, I know we're all, a lot of us are in consensus that we wish we would have been informed beforehand. Because I do believe there are very intelligent people here that might have had something. And I don't mean to put our doctors on the spot, but were they informed of this decision the same way all the staff were, or?
Yes.
So basically, after the fact?
No, we went to them after we went to the commissioners.
Okay, so the commissioners also knew about the decision?
They were first.
They were the first to know.
But to be clear, the vote happened very soon thereafter, so we informed them, and then it went to the special meeting. It was not that either party, physicians or commissioners, knew in advance, like significantly in advance or anything like that. It was day of as well, if that answers your question.
Well, it just kind of raises another one, to me, just why weren't some of the more important people involved in this decision, I guess, or people that it's going to affect. I know it's a trickle down effect. We all know that.
So it had been discussed. Remember the timeline on this. So March 6th, I had someone on site, and I thought for sure we were going to be able to get it sold if I could get it licensed. When those conversations were happening, prior to that, actually a little bit before, we were talking about, okay, when I came back from my education, which is when I found out about this buyer pulling out on us, we were going to go to the commissioners at that time and inform them of what was going on, that we were looking at selling the nursing home. Unfortunately, before that meeting came about 2 weeks, a week and a half before that, is when we were informed that our last buyer was off the table. So the conversation quickly turned from informing them of what we were looking at and informing them that we were going down this route to, we have no more options. We've exhausted all of our options. We've looked at the waivers. We've looked at selling it, and going to them at that time and saying, well, here's what we're looking at. That wasn't the truth anymore. The truth was, we are now in a space where we don't have options available to us because of all the cost reports, all the no buyers. And at that time, then the conversation with the commissioners became, hey, here's what's going on. We don't have a choice. We've explored our options. We did have intentions of going that month to the commissioners and explaining. But things changed so rapidly. As David mentioned, we thought to the last second we were going to be able to sell a nursing home. I don't know if that's a good enough answer for anyone in this room, but I'm telling you what we were looking at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia. Well, in closing, I know you guys think we should have done better, and we might have been, but obviously this was an extremely hard decision. The board was hopeful to the last days that we'd be able to keep the long-term care here. It's a terrible loss to residents, staff, and community. And we also know there's going to be economic loss as well as the mental aspect of this. The board also understands the anger, frustrations, and emotions, but hopefully together we'll get through this. Meeting adjourned.